Hi and welcome to the Sewing Studio. I'm Anna and today I am going to be showing you the Janome Memory Craft 6700P. It's part of Janome's professional range. That doesn't mean you have to be a professional sewer, you can be if you want to. What it means is that you're getting superb quality, power, precision, versatility and a wealth of space. Now in this video I am going to talk you through all of its wonderful features, what comes in the box, we'll do some sewing and I'll show you its capabilities, and then we'll talk about the warranty. So we've split all that into chapters, so if there's something you specifically want to see, feel free to just fast forward to that section. So let's dive into its many features. Firstly, it has a vertical spool stand which takes the large cones with ease. It's also got an independent bobbin winder, which means you don't need to unthread your needle to wind your bobbin. It comes with 200 different stitch options, 9 one-step buttonholes and some fonts, both uppercase and lowercase. They're all detailed on this stitch card, which just sits nicely there. And when you want to pack it away, it just slots in the back. Now you can bring the stitches up on the screen and scroll through those. You don't have to use the card if you don't want to. You have the ability to change the width and the length of a stitch, and the maximum stitch width is 9mm and the maximum length is 5mm. Now for satin stitches, it also has an elongation feature. Yes, you can change the width and the length, but sometimes you end up distorting the density of the stitch. So with the elongation, you can increase those up to 5 times their original size, but still keep the shape and the density. Also has a mirror stitch option, so stitches which have a direction, you're able to change them in a different direction, up, down, left, right, any which way that you want to go. It has a start-stop button and speed control slider. It does come with a foot pedal, but you don't have to use that if you don't want to. You've got the automatic scissor cut, needle up, needle down, which you can set to when you stop sewing for the needle to either stay down or the needle to stay up, whichever you prefer. And obviously a locking stitch and reverse. Now what you can't fail to notice on this machine is its size. It's got 10 inches of space to the right of the needle. It's a metal flat body, there's no free arm, which puts some people off, but honestly, sewing cuffs, hems, anything in the round is still super easy, and I will show you that when we get to the sewing section. It has adjustable presser foot pressure, that's done with this dial here, so if you're sewing something quite delicate, you can slacken that pressure off. It's also got extra presser foot lift to get any bulky items on there, and it also has a knee lift functionality, which slots in the front there. It's got a built-in needle threader and a top-loading bobbin, drop-in, whichever terminology you use. So it's easy to load, easy to see, and it has the quick set functionality, so you don't need to draw up the bobbin thread if you don't want to. It's got a 7-piece feed drive system, which makes for really good fabric control, and those teeth can be dropped for any darning or free motion work. It's also got an easy change needle plate system, so no fiddly screws to undo. You just simply raise that up, pop that, and out it comes. And that's perfect for cleaning, getting into all the nooks and crannies, and also it comes with different types of stitch plate. So it has this one, and this one will come on the machine, which is the standard stitch plate, and it has the widest 9mm hole. A straight stitch needle plate, and the HP needle plate with the narrow foot that goes with that, which I will talk about a bit later on. We also have a zipper foot or piping foot, one for rolled hem, blind hem, overcasting. Now 2 decorative stitch feet, one closed toe, one open toe, one for sewing on buttons, and then your one-step buttonhole foot with stabilising plate. You've got a 1/4 inch foot, a dual feed foot, you might know that as a walking foot. A couple of options for free motion, so your traditional sort of hopping, darning foot, and then you've got this convertible free motion foot that has a closed toe, an open toe, and a clear one for echo quilting and thread painting. it comes with a range of accessories. The feet and accessories all store away nicely in this storage box, and this fits neatly in the middle of the machine. It comes with a dust cover that goes over the top and an all-important instruction manual. Also, a very large extension table that just sits on the end of the table, really increasing your work area. So let's do some sewing. The machine is very easy to thread. You just pop your spool on there and the cap in through the guide. Everything is numbered for you. Everything with the solid line is for the needle. Everything with the dotted line is for your bobbin. So you go under that one, 3, 4, around the tension dial, in the take-up lever, that guide, and not forgetting the guide just above the needle. And then the needle threader, you're just simply popping the thread in the little tooth, cutting off the excess, and then pushing the lever down, and there's your loop, and the needle's threaded. And for the bobbin, tail of thread to the left, pop the cover off, take that empty one out, and you just drop it in, go around and under that little lip, and then through the quick set. And as I say, you don't then need to draw up the bobbin thread, but you can if you want to. When you first switch the machine on, it'll always default to mode 1, stitch number 1, which is your standard straight stitch. Now, I'm not using the foot pedal. You can if you want to. I'm going to use the start-stop button, and at the moment I'm on the slowest speed setting. And as you can see, that's really quite slow and controlled. So we'll just go up. And you can see that fast is really fast. That's 1200 stitches per minute. I'm just going to use the thread cutter, lifts the needle, trims the threads, and you can just take the work out. And there's your nice, neat straight stitch, both top and bottom, and it's lovely and secure for your seam. If you want to switch over to your zigzag, it's still in mode 1. You can see it's on the screen here. So stitch number 1 is your straight stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5 is your zigzag. So you just press number 5, and then you can see it's displayed your zigzag stitch. When it comes to securing it then, I use the reverse button. You can also use the locking stitch, which does 3 stitches on the spot. So you press that first and then start. And you can see it stitching on the spot. And then when you want to finish, you can press that one, it will stop, and again do your 3 stitches on the spot to secure it. And that's your zigzag. Obviously that's where I did the reverse, and then that's on the bottom. That's nice and neat. Now this locking stitch has a second function, which is also a pattern end. So when you're sewing out one of the decorative stitches or the pictograph, for instance, let's choose, so many to choose from. Let's go for a row of hearts. So this one is in mode 2. So you're going to use the mode button to change it over to number 2. And then it's stitch number 151. So 151. And you can see you've then got the row of hearts on there. It's telling you to switch to foot F. I'm going to use the F2, which is the open version. You can do the decorative stitches with this foot, it's just these have a bit of a groove out the bottom of them to allow to go over the stitches, and also you can see where your stitches are going because it's nice and open. I'm just going to pop that down. And away we go. And you can see when I pressed the locking stitch button that time, it didn't automatically stop. That's because it's going to get to the end of the pattern, which in this one is the heart shape, before it stops. Now I mentioned about mirror stitch earlier, and that is for stitches like these. So at the moment your hearts are facing that way. So I could press that one and your hearts are facing in the opposite direction. So if I stitch those out now, you can see that the hearts then go in two different directions. It's quite good for decorative effects, but it's also quite good to keep your stitch in the same direction when you're going right the way around something. Let's look at stitch fonts. They are in mode 3, so we want to go here. And then it has a memory function, so you can set a name to stitch out, or a date or anything that you might want to do, and you do that by selecting the stitch numbers. So I can see on the chart, let's write Janome, so I can see that J is number 10, so 010, and then you can see the J. You then press the M for memory button, and you'll see it then moves and it's waiting for the next character. So a lowercase a, and then memory to set that. N is 040, 041, E is 031. So there you go, Janome, and that will stitch out the whole word. Now it has a memory. This is a favourite stitch, so you can save it to a favourite stitch if you want to, and that's really handy if you're always writing the same quote or name or date, but also if you're doing something like an applique stitch and you like to adjust the width and the length, you can save it to favourite stitches, and then you don't have to worry about recording what stitch and what length you put on it previously. So I'll show you how that stitches out. I'll just pop the speed up. And there you have your word. It's very legible, and each letter is secured. So if you want to unpick these little joining stitches with your stitch unpick, they're not going to come unravelled. That's absolutely fine. Moving on to a buttonhole, I've popped the one-step buttonhole foot on, and I'll just bring the sensor down. As I say, there's 9 different buttonhole options depending on the type of fabric that you're using. We'll just do a standard one, which is in mode 2 and number 23. So we'll pop that under the foot and just let it do its thing. And there you go, a nice neat buttonhole, both top and bottom. Now this machine will automatically make the hole 2 millimeters bigger than the button that you've got in there. If your button is bigger than what the foot allows, then there is also a memory buttonhole function, which in essence is a 4-step buttonhole, but you're committing it to memory. So once you've done the buttonhole the size that you want in 4 steps, you can then sew, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, as many as you like, at that size buttonhole, so you're not limited to the size of the foot. The foot also comes with a stabilising plate, and you use this if you're sewing a buttonhole on something quite thick. So if it was kind of the placket of a wool coat, for instance, you would just lay that on top of the stabilising plate and then pop your foot on the top, and that helps to keep the fabric in place whilst it's sewing the buttonhole. I mentioned earlier the fact that the machine doesn't have a free arm and how that can put some people off, and promised to show you that it's not a problem. So to give that a really good test, I've got a child's pyjama top here, and I'll show you how we sew the cuff on. So you want to pop it under the presser foot, drop your needle in, and then you just take it slow and move it around. It really couldn't be simpler. And obviously if you're working on something bigger, you know, it works with the smaller thing. It's even easier with the bigger items. Let's have a look at the machine's capabilities in terms of thickness and density of fabric. So I've got some denim here. So I've popped a jeans needle on the machine, and straight stitch is fine for this. However, it is quite dense, so I'm going to increase the stitch length. Yeah, went through that, no problem at all. And you can see that's nice and neat, top and bottom, and the seam is lovely and strong. So that's 2 layers. Let's double that over. So we'll go through 4 layers. And again, sewn through that, no problem at all, top and bottom. So let's fold it over again. So we're on 8 layers now. And let's go up, in. Yeah, no problem for this machine whatsoever. And the seam is still lovely and robust. Let's look at some leather material. So I've got 2 layers of a soft leather here that I've just sewn together, and I'm going to top stitch down. So I've popped a leather needle on and a top stitch thread. Now obviously this thread is thicker than standard thread, so I've taken the tension back just 1 number to 3 rather than 4. I'm on a standard straight stitch and a 4mm length. Now I always like to go slow on leather, when I'm top stitching to keep a straight line, and also to help the machine. Now I'm not using the thread cutter just because the thread's quite thick. cut them off. And look how lovely and neat that is. I still use the black bobbin on the other side, so you don't see that, but it is a lovely, lovely neat stitch. Moving on to a different type of fabric now. I've got some super stretchy jersey. So I've popped a jersey needle on the machine, and we need to choose a lightning stitch for this material, which is in mode 2, number 9. So I just move that over and select number 9. I'm going to do a slightly longer stitch length because this is quite awkward fabric, and it will help the stitch sit better. Now it's sewn it really well, but you can see that it's still a bit wavy. However, you can stretch the fabric with the stitch and all as well. So let's look at the dual feed that should be able to deal with that. So I've popped the dual feed foot on the machine. Now this is the same as a walking foot. This one's called a dual feed foot because the functionality is slightly different in that a walking foot is driven from the needle going up and down. This slots into the back of the machine, so it's actually driven from the motor of the machine for far better results. So let me show you the difference it can make with jersey fabric. Now see how that is sat so much neater, and you can stretch the material with the stitch and the seam is nice and robust. Whilst the dual feed foot is on, let's take a look at some quilting with it. So I've got a small quilt sandwich here, and the opening of the foot is nice and wide, so you can stitch any of the stitches with the machine. So let's go for, let's try one of the stippling ones. So that's in mode 2, number 94. Okay. Extra lift helps you get it underneath. Now hopefully you could see as well as I can that the layers have no movement in them at all. And that's really nice and neat. It's sat nice on the fabric and just as neat underneath. Now it's all very well me showing you on a small quilt sandwich, but very rarely is that what we're quilting. Now the extension table and the size of this machine really do make quilting large quilts easy. When it comes to free motion work, there's a couple of different feet options that you could use that come with the machine. So there's the standard hop mechanism darning foot, and then there's this one which is called the convertible free motion foot, which is the one that I'll be using. Now it's convertible because it comes with different soles. So this is the closed toe, this is the open toe one, and then you've got this clear plastic one that you can use for echo quilting, and it's nice and wide, so you can also do thread painting with that one. I'm going to use the closed toe, so I've already popped this on the machine. I've changed the needle plate over to the straight stitch needle plate because it gives much better results when doing free motion. And I'm going to move the needle position over to the left so that it's in the middle of that foot, so stitch number 4. And lastly, I've lowered the feed dogs using the switch on the right of the machine. So we'll pop the quilt sandwich underneath and drop the presser foot. Now you can see that sat quite high to the fabric, so we just want to lower the foot down because this one stays where it's to, it doesn't hop. So you just want to lower it to just above the top of the fabric and you can freely move it. So let's bring the bobbin thread up. At this point I like to stop and just deal with those loose ends before we carry on. And because this is a metal flat body as well, it's really smooth for you to move it around. And obviously if you're working on a bigger piece, you can pop the extension table on, which gives you a much larger area. But as you can see, the tension's really nice on there, both top and bottom. Now, when it comes to the different stitch plates, the straight stitch one is also really handy for when you're sewing at high speed, just doing straight stitch. So if you're making a pair of curtains or something like that, then I would recommend using the straight stitch plate. The third plate is the high profile plate. Now let me pop this on and I will show you the functionality of this one. So it has this specific foot that goes on. So we'll just take this one off. And pop that one on. Now this is a narrow foot, so what it's doing is it's isolating this side of the feed dogs. Now when you've got the standard plate on, there's quite a wide hole here, so if you're doing some delicate, intricate sewing, it does have the ability to kind of draw the fabric down into the hole. This completely eliminates that. Also with this foot, if you're lining your fabric up to the very edge of it, then you're always achieving a scant 1/4 inch. So I'm going to piece these two together and I'm going to go right from the very edge, lining the fabric up with the end of the foot to get my 1/4 inch. Oh, that's reminding me that my feed dogs were down from free motioning. So pop those back up. And as you can see, I've been able to sew right from the very edge of the fabric, and you're getting a consistent 1/4 inch right the way along your piecing. It's also really good when you're doing anything with corners because it's not clamped under all of the feed dogs. It makes it much easier to turn. I hope you've enjoyed taking an in-depth look at the Janome MC 6700P. Now, Janome name MC Memory Craft, I like to call it marvellous creation because it's a really great machine for all-round projects, no matter what you want to achieve. It also comes with a 2-year warranty that can be extended to 5 years, and there's a card that comes in the box that explains that all to you. And don't forget, we're here for any support or any advice that you may need. So just pick up the phone, pop on live chat or send us an email. Delivery is fast and free, so what are you waiting for? Thanks for watching.